Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 237B of Tales with Sierra. Today, we go over my second five favorite Christmas movies of all time. In no particular order, I'm giving you 10. Like I said, like Stephen A. Smith says, the list is fluid. It often changes. This particular year, and I think most years, I think my picks are solid. I just mean, there's so many great movies. I mentioned The Holdovers. Obviously, that wasn't on the list a few years ago because it just came out. The list is fluid, ladies and gents, and to be debated and talked about. Hate to use the word argue because that would imply an argument, and these are just to be debated and talked about and recommended because some of you are like, I didn't hear that particular movie, but thanks for recommending it. So here's what we're gonna do. We're picking up with. Thanks for listening, by the way, and Merry Christmas. Home Alone. Now, Home Alone, I enjoy for a lot of reasons. I don't know, like a lot of these movies I mentioned, and to me, it's huge if it's original. It's the first of its kind. That's why often I mention things that might have happened in pop culture or life, or if it's for the first time, whether it be a Wayne Gretzky or the Beatles or Bobby Orr or Michael Jordan or whatever. I like that. First to me means a lot. Now, I don't really know. I looked at it. I'm not sure if it is. Maybe it's Home Alone. There's another movie like it in the 60s or 70s. I don't really know. I know that there'd been movies done before about family Christmases. I know there've been movies where people were alone. I know that there's been movies with, some kind of gradual obstacle course. Where a comedy of errors happens and it just like, I don't know, Meet the Parents. What About Bob? I mentioned that before. Like, where it just gradually gets funnier and funnier because of some person's misfortune or fortune. So, I mean, from that perspective, but I think to put all of those things together, and not only that, like I think was kind of a first, and not only that, but if you grew up like me in the '80s, um, and '90s, what did Home Alone like 90 or 91, something like that. So I was like 12, 13 years old, and yeah, I identified with Kevin McAllister. Macaulay Culkin, first of all, I thought he did a fucking wicked job. People talk about the movie, but a lot of them still don't talk about how great a job that Macaulay Culkin did. What was he, 9 or 10 years old? I mean, it was fucking phenomenal. But I was basically that age, just a little tiny bit older. So, and I'm an only child, so I got left home alone a lot. I really identified it. So a lot of these, like I said, it's only a list that we talk about. I know I'm probably biased there, but with the time and the setting of it. But we all and fuck Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, the bad guys. I mean, they're hilarious. Um, and Joe Pesci was at something of a peak of his career as well. I mean, he was in Goodfellas either right before that or right after. I mean, this was a highly sought after. And My Cousin Vinny, I think, came right after that. Another funny one, actually. I forgot about that. Talking about Joe Pesci, but came back to me. But anyway, so I think it's really well written. I mean, the obstacle course of sorts that the two guys I just mentioned go through. The bad guys, quote unquote. I thought it was really well written, and I guess you could say original. I mean, I was only a kid watching it, but I had never seen anything like it, and I remember laughing. I saw it. Um, I must have been in grade 8 or 9 because and I skipped a grade, so that would have put me a year younger than that. Like, so I was probably grade 7, 8, 8. I don't know. Maybe slightly. You're right. It was 90. I would have had to be slightly older than that. But the theater Topsail Cinemas was not there now. It was a stone's throw. It was really like a par 4 or 5 away from my house. So, my Mary Queen of the World buddies, I remember going with. to the movie. So maybe I was slightly older, in grade 9 or something, but it was around that. We all could identify, and at the time you couldn't again stream stuff, and the whole idea of VHS and being able to like watch those was fairly new. And in the mid 80s, it was just like these laser disc things that you had to buy. So, the whole idea of like rewatching these movies, it was just a real new thing. And the only Christmas ones that would be on TV, again, unless you just watch TV. So it seemed like every fucking day at Christmas every year, it was nothing against them, but I mentioned them. Miracle on 34th Street, White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life. Again, great movies, but it was almost as if they were shoved down our throats so much because our parents watched them, right? Not because of that so much. And again, I kind of like those movies. I don't kind of like them. I really like them. But we had really nothing. I guess Christmas Vacation was around then, but it all started but that I like for the same reason. It was like, a real classic that we knew would be a classic as we were growing up. It was of our generation, right? And you just knew it was going to be a classic. Sometimes that happens. I think I mentioned Bad Santa. It's not in my top 10. But when that came out, it got a pretty good rating. Everybody enjoyed it. Next year, everybody was talking about it again. So that became somewhat of a Christmas, I don't know if you want to say classic, definitely a fixture. And then you've got the holdovers I mentioned. Mark my words, as time passes, that's going to be on more and more lists. But it just seemed to me at the time, maybe being that age, that we had nothing of our own. And that seemed not only like our own generation's movie, but Kevin McAllister was like basically my age. So we all fucking loved it, right? So for my situation and being at the age I was at that point, definitely Home Alone has to be on the list. Next, okay. I think I mentioned, because I can't remember, I haven't re-listened to version A of this, but I think I mentioned like A Christmas Carol, say. And A Christmas Carol, I think the classic, the first one anyway, that came out that my parents were born in 52. So the one that I first saw on TV, and I saw a lot, came out every year, was A Christmas Carol from 1951. Now, there's been 1,000 iterations of this since, a lot. And there's even one a few years ago. I'm surprised didn't really stick, but it was. I thought it was a great rendition of it. Maybe a decade ago. I'd have to look into that. But anyway, there's so many versions of A Christmas Carol. There's so many of them, and every other TV show did a version of it. And you get visited by the three ghosts, and eventually Ebenezer comes around, and he sees good in Tiny Tim and everybody. It's a great movie. It's just a bit formulaic when you know what's going to happen, and each take on it being formulaic. They stuck to the formula without really going too far outside the box. But Scrooged, I think, was real creative in taking a story that they couldn't really change too much because they want to stay. I'm guessing you want to speak for the directors and writers of other movies, but I would want to basically stick to, the three ghosts, the old curmudgeon turns good kind of thing, and that's coming. So it's hard to be entertained by it when you know what's coming, right? But I thought Scrooged, where Bill Murray, it's a modern version of it. He plays this CEO type multi-millionaire, if not billionaire. I don't really say, but you can tell he's running basically a TV channel, I believe, or production company. I've seen it. He's like basically got to decide what goes on the air that night, and he's a bit of at first you see that he's a bit of a dick, but then he just becomes, he's Scrooge. He's Ebenezer Scrooge, basically. What's he in the movie? Hold on. Yeah, Frank Cross. Okay, and he's basically a television executive. I thought he owned the company, but in any case, it's just a different take on it. And I got to mention, Um, one of my favorite female comedic actors of that era. Her name is Carol Kane, and I think she's fantastic in it. Uh, and Bobcat Goldthwait. I forgot his name. Bobcat Goldthwait. He's in there as well, and they basically play versions of the three ghosts that visit Ebenezer in the original Christmas Carol. But trust me, this is a great movie. Um, it'll make you laugh, and it's Bill Murray at his absolute peak. And I think also will give you a little bit of an insight into the world of a television executive in the late 80s. I really, I can't speak for it. I'm in the industry now. I wasn't then, but I just, knowing now, I watched it with Penny Lane last year again, and I'm like, okay, I kind of got it a little more being in the TV world. But it's a joke, it's an exaggeration, of course, but there are definitely things there that you'll get an idea what it was like to be around at that time, and to have that gig. So anyway, Scrooged, I absolutely love it, and I think it's hilarious. So okay, moving on. Okay, my next pick. I got three left, and I know that some people are gonna go, "What the fuck?" Okay, now bear with me, and I'll explain. And I know I know it. I know most won't have seen this because it came out in 1960. Okay, now the name of the movie is The Apartment, and it came out in 1960. Those who know Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men, that's Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. So Jack Lemmon is in this movie, and he's great. He plays C.C. Baxter, and he's a kind of, what's the word? He's not. I won't say self-doubting. He's certainly not self-confident. He's hesitant with decisions. He's not very affirmative. A bit of a pushover, and he's got an apartment, and his a lot of his coworkers, but his boss is basically taking they're taking their extramarital affairs. They're taking their mistresses over to his place, and he's being obviously taken advantage of, but he won't stick up for himself. Then he meets a girl. This will probably come out in the trailer. I don't think I'm giving anything away, and it's Shirley MacLaine. And she, if you don't know who that is, she was a big time actor at the time. Real pretty girl too. And God, I remember acting. Remember watching movies growing up. So she must have been 20 or 30 years older than that. So she aged well, but she's in her prime here. And then he finds out basically that the boss, one of the girls that he's bringing over there to bang and use the apartment is her. And he kind of likes her. Again, I don't think I'm giving anything away there that you won't see in the trailer. And it certainly doesn't play out like you would think. So, don't keep following that road and go, oh, and everybody lived happily ever. It's just, it takes place over Christmas and New Year's. So I'm putting it up there as a Christmas movie. And I think it's two actors at the peak of their careers that spanned a long time. Two Hollywood legends. It's worth watching only for that. It's a great movie. 1960, I know it's a while back, and there are things, obviously the technology wasn't what it is today, but certain movies, there's one around the same time, 12 Angry Men. It's another one. It wouldn't matter, you only need, I could watch it as a play and find it still good. You know what I mean? Because they take place in a bunch of different rooms, but there's no need for CGI or anything like that. The way the apartment is filmed, I think, even though, again, what I'm saying is that there's lots of films in 1960 that I wouldn't recommend because they really seem dated. But I don't think this one is. I don't. I mean, obviously, you're watching it and you're going to say, oh, obviously it's 1960 because they're the way they're dressed or the music they're listening to or whatever. But no, I do think this will hold your attention. And I mean, especially if anybody likes the other ones, It's a Wonderful Life and whatnot. I think this has an extra level of comedy, but it's poignant at times, and I would consider it a dramedy because it's not just all knee slapping fun. I think it's a deep movie, and I just love it. So I'm going to put The Apartment up there. Now I have 2 left. That's 8, my top movies. Okay, Christmas movies. Now, where are we here? Where are we? Next. Yeah, next. I wasn't, you know what? I was going to leave this off the list because a lot of people don't consider it a Christmas movie. But you know how even sometimes, I mean, I brought up Die Hard, but like a lot of people do put Die Hard as a Christmas movie, right? Like a lot don't. And those who don't hate the fact that I just did. But it's not outlandish to bring it up. I never hear anybody bring up Gremlins as a Christmas movie. But Gremlins takes place at Christmas. I think Gizmo is a Christmas present. Now, again, I watched that again last year. I think it was with Penny Lane. It had been a long time. I've all these movies on the list I've forced down her throat at some point over the years too. No, trust me. I let her. We pick all kinds of things and go through, but she's okay. We're back. So I mean, I'm looking now, 84. So I was 7 years old. I mean, so clearly a lot of these from my list. I mean, what is Christmas, right? You're growing up. These are my formative Christmas years. So I'm just realizing now that I'm obviously biased towards the era because that's when I grew up, and I'm assuming that if I was listening to someone now that was that I played with on the Growlers last year, they'd probably tell me a bunch of choices from the last 10 years. In which case, I'd listen, of course, because like I said, these are just subjective lists. But if nothing else, I can add. Like I know, as I say these movies, if you haven't seen Gremlins, go check it out. Might be a bit dated, of course, but now by 84, I think just the references. I don't think there's any. It's not like the Gremlins are very believable. Put it that way. It's not like fucking stickman or claymation or anything. The technology. Once Star Wars came, Indiana Jones, like that was the late of 70s, early 80s. CGI wasn't quite there like we have it now. I don't know the chronological order of movie technology, but yeah, you watch that movie and they got it now, obviously in HD, and it still looks real good. But the Gremlins, I thought it was just really innovative, really intriguing, really unique. The whole fucking idea of the Gremlins and the havoc that and you know how they can go from one end of the spectrum right to the other, just like a lot of fucking humans, right? I just thought, yeah, it was an adventure. It's funny, and it can be a bit scary, right? And whatever. I mean, Christmas. Not that I'm searching for a scary Christmas, but I definitely like an escape at Christmas. And I think Gremlins is one of the best Christmas escapes that you're going to get. I really do. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. I don't even remember Gremlins 2 or 3. I know they came out and I know they made a boatload of money when they did. But are they good? I don't really know. But I know Gremlins is. It's a classic. It's fucking a unique spin on Christmas and toys and presents and human interaction and human condition. I think it's fucking and gremlin condition. I think it's fucking awesome. Check it out. Okay. That's number 9, I think, right? So that leaves us one more Christmas movie. Rounding out the list, and I'm sure that less than 5% of people, I think once I say the movie, you're going to know the movie, but you're not going to predict what I'm about to say. So whatever you're doing right now, if you're doing your dishes in your kitchen, if you're banging, if you're driving, you're killing time, walking, biking, whatever the fuck you're doing, you're listening to this going, what possible movie is he going to talk about now? Is he going to talk about Holiday Inn. It's going to talk about Elf. It's going to talk about A Christmas Story. I guess there's all kinds of things. Tim Allen, what was that one? The Santa Claus. I could keep going. There's all kinds of Christmas movies. They still come out. I mean, ask Hallmark. Hallmark, I think, put out 5,000 Christmas movies a year. So many of them. So many of them. I know a lot of, and Lifetime. Is it? Oh, Hallmark and Lifetime. Yeah. I just know a lot of people now, like I said, in the industry. And each time they're like, yeah, I'm doing another movie. And it's a Hallmark movie. It's a Christmas movie. But how many can they possibly pump out? Anyway, I know all of those. And you know what? If to each their own, I merely want to remind people, because this would qualify, in my mind, it qualifies if it takes place at Christmas. Christmas in the movie doesn't have to be the central plot, but I think because, like with Gremlins, even with Die Hard, it's not too far from the plot. It's happening at Christmas time. The setting of the movie, what's the definition of setting again? Time, place, and circumstances in which a story takes place. So if it's during Christmas time, then fuck if it's part of the setting. Now, if the movie is like James Bond and it follows some criminal for 3 years and one scene is in a casino at Christmas, I wouldn't go there. But if it takes place during Christmas and there's more than one scene hovering around that very point, I'm putting it as a Christmas movie. And again, I can do what I want because it's my podcast. And at number, I shouldn't say at number 10 because these are in no particular order. The 10th Christmas movie on my fave list is 1992's Batman Returns. Christopher Walken, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Keaton. Thank you very much. We were all mesmerized after first Batman came out. I'm thinking 89 or 90, and then it was 1992. I know that much because I just moved away and came back 2 or 3 times during the season to see my buddies. And one of those times I remember going to see Batman Returns. And the world was waiting for Bruce Wayne to come back. And what was he going to deliver this time? I talked about actors at their peak. Danny DeVito, Christopher Walken, and Michelle Pfeiffer, all peaking. Batman fever was on. The first Batman in a long time had come out, and Tim Burton was the director, which any Tim Burton movie he's going to put his own flavor and spin on it, and you knew something was coming that was going to be a little bit different. This wasn't just going to be, some mailed in Batman costume. We were going to have a wicked Batman. We got it. We were going to have awesome set. We got it. We're going to have cinematography. We were going to have costumes, villains, everything. Batman first one didn't disappoint. And of course, 1992's Batman Returns, I thought delivered. I fucking loved it. I'm putting it as a Christmas movie. And if you haven't seen it, why not? Even if you're not into superheroes or the DC or Marvel universe or any of them, if you're not into that, it doesn't matter. It's seeing a great movie that is part of history at this point, and I think qualifies as not only a Christmas movie, but one of my favorite Christmas movies. I do have some questions that you guys got for me. What do you think of Patrick Laine? What do you think of the Austin Matthews going to play at the Four Nations Cup? I'll get to all that next time, and hopefully we'll have a guest, but I'm going to leave you with this right now. That final part of my list. And if you're in Canada, well, if you're wherever, if you're a hockey fan, the World Junior Tournament starts tonight, and I think Canada's playing Finland at 7 o'clock. And hopefully, if I get my chores done in time, I'll have enough time to visit my good buddy Kevin Reed from the Spittin' Chicklets World, the Big Deal Selects. And maybe we'll have a beer or two. Maybe we'll watch Canada, and maybe we'll watch Canada win. All to be determined. But I know this. I'll be back in just a few days with more Tales with TR. Thank you, folks, for listening. I'll catch you on the rebound, but what I haven't done is mention, if you're downtown St. John's and you want to head out, why not go to Trinity Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, the Martini Bar, the Bull and Barrel, of course, Greensleeves, if you want to have a bite to eat, Check out Loose Tie. Check out Blue on Water. Check out Wedgwood Cafe. You want to work out? Go to Ryan Power Conditioning on Rope Walk Lane. Strength and balance for the body and mind. You want to go to Mr. Lube? 2 locations. One's on Kemet Road. One's on Torbay Road. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull Pain Relief Paint Sticks. Just don't quit. Go to pitbullpainrelief.com. See what all fuss is about. True Hockey, take what's yours. Muggsy Jeans. I loves me Muggsy Jeans. See you, boys. I'll be back in just a couple of days.